Hey everyone, Dan at Ochiko Bushcraft. Well, more than anything, I have an important tip for you guys today. What do you think the number one most overlooked piece of gear is in a survival kit, or a get home bag, or even a bug out bag? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's right here, attached to the outside of my pack. It's not water. It's water right here. It's not a fire starting kit. It's not tools. I got my hatchet here, saw here, knife on my belt. It's not first aid. What it is ground insulation. The number one most overlooked piece of equipment in a survival kit or a get home bag or a bug out bag is something to insulate yourself from the ground with. Now let me explain on that. First of all, there's a lot of survival books out there. I've read them that are not written by people who are experienced in the field. They've copied information down from somebody else. They're armchair survivalists. They put down something they saw in a movie, heard on TV, or whatever. Numerous survival books that I have read will tell people that in an emergency survival situation, the first thing you need to do is remain calm and sit down. Sit down, collect your thoughts, take a deep breath, gather together what materials you have, make a mental list, look at your surroundings, but most importantly, stay calm. But they add in this part about sit down. Well, here's the problem. They just leave it at that. They don't tell you to sit down on something like this that's insulated from the ground. They just say, sit down. What's the number one killer of people lost in the wilderness? And I've worked with search and rescue. Hypothermia. We've had here in the Ochikos many years back, a hunter sit down on the cold ground under a tree, lost. He had all of his gear in his pack, but he was not insulated from the freezing cold ground, and he died during the night of hypothermia. He froze. The number one killer of people lost in the wilderness, unless statistics have changed, but the last time I looked, was hypothermia. You see, when people buy these survival manuals written by people who are not experienced out here in a real survival situation, and they read it before they go hiking or hunting or camping, whatever, and it says, okay, if I'm lost, I need to sit down and think. So, okay, here I am in a situation right now, today. If you can see behind me, the hill back up here is still covered with snow. It's right around freezing out here. I'm on the cold ground right now, and it's sucking my body heat out. If I were to stay on this cold ground, plant my butt here, and just sit here for the next hour, I would probably be shivering, and then from there it would just continue to get worse. So they read these survival manuals, and if the situation comes up, what do? They sit down. And it doesn't matter if it's on a log. It doesn't matter if it's on the ground. It doesn't matter if it's on a stump. If whatever you're sitting on is cold, it's going to start sucking the body heat out of you. And eventually, as you sit there, hypothermia. Well, another scenario for you guys before I undo this. Imagine you're in a bug out scenario. Now, these are for you guys who are experienced, okay? Many of you are more experienced than that, and you would say, well, I would never just sit on the cold ground. I would gather up myself a big bed of pine needles or fir boughs, and if everything was wet, hopefully you have like a trash bag or something, and you could fill that and make a ground pad. Okay, let me run this by you. You're in a get home situation. I've been in one in a snowstorm. Everything is wet. So on the way home, you get tired. You need to stop and take a break. So you're gathering up armloads of wet needles, pine needles, and wet fir boughs, getting your upper body wet, removing body heat, breaking a sweat as you fill up this garbage bag so you can sit down and take a 30-minute break. Then you're back on walking again. Like me, my vehicle was broke down, and I was walking home in a snowstorm. And there were periodic times that I needed to stop, take a break, make sure I hydrated, have a little snack. So if every time you need to stop and rest, you got to go gather up more materials, stuff them in a bag, get your upper body wet because they're wet, sit down, take your break, get up and do it again. Imagine all the time that could have been spent traveling is being spent gathering materials. You are losing body heat because you're getting your upper body wet as you're gathering wet materials. You're burning calories, you're breaking a sweat. You know, if you're out here building a bug out camp, or if you have no other choice because you didn't prepare, so be it. You know, and I make bushcraft beds, huge beds of pine needles to sleep on at night and things when I'm out here overnight. I've made, you know, beds 2 feet thick, very comfortable, stayed on them all night, stayed warm and insulated. That's different. I'm talking about a real survival situation, you know, where it's an emergency and you can't just sit down on the ground, or you're trying to get home, your vehicle's broke down. You can't stop and, you know, every couple hours stop and gather up new materials and build a new pad to sit on, and use all that energy and burn those calories, break a sweat, get wet, and then again. This way is absolutely nothing. This is a Thermalite Ridge Rest. It's the short one. However, it is as long as my upper torso. It will go from the top of my head to just above my knees. So if I actually needed to lay down on my side, insulating on one side, this is green on one, silver reflective on the other, reflects my body heat. If I needed to lay down because I was just dead beat, I could lay on it, and I have, and reflect my body heat back on me. Right now, let's say I'm in a get home situation. I'll just take this off the bottom of my pack, and again, it weighs just a couple ounces, really, and sit on it. I put it on top of a rock, put it on top of a stump, sit right down on the ground, or even on the snow. I've done that. I've sat this right on top of the snow and sat on it, and my butt gets warm. The heat of my body reflects back up. It insulates me. These are on Amazon. They cost very little. And something like this, if you're hiking, camping, fishing, hunting, you want to put together a survival kit, or, you know, a get home bag, a bug out bag, even a bushcraft pack like this. This is part of my bushcraft kit. I've got one attached to my get home bug out bag, one on my bushcraft pack. And I'll show you here. Let's go over here by the fire. Okay, right now I'm kicking back. I got a nice fire going. I actually made me another dingle stick. If you remember the video, it's sitting right there in the ground. And I have my Thermarest Ridge Rest. Try that again. Thermarest Ridge Rest underneath me and up behind my back, because this tree is also much colder than my body. And so even if I was just sitting on it, leaning against the tree would be drawing body heat out of my back and making my back cold. So this little ridge rest is just awesome for, you know, I'm out here for a day just enjoying myself. And so I've got it underneath me, I'm sitting on it, rolled up behind my back, so it's reflecting my own body heat from me. And as the heat of the fire comes onto me, this actually catches some of the heat from the fire and reflects that heat back on me too. And again, guys, they're inexpensive. They literally weigh only ounces. And I know that many of you know this. I know that many of you aren't new to survival and bushcraft. But if everybody knew these things, then hypothermia, people sitting down on the ground under a tree and dying out here, wouldn't be happening. There's a lot of people that don't know these. So, you know, I would just say, get one. I just used some like sleeping bag straps, and with the little plastic buckles, bedroll straps, and just ran it through the loops of the bottom of my pack, Spec Ops brand pack, and they have several rows of the MOLLE loops on the bottom, and just roll this up and clip it on there, and whenever I need it, anytime, it's there. And maybe I'm staying out here for the night and I want to get a bunch of boughs and pine needles and stuff for a bed, so be it. But if not, or again, as I said, I was in emergency get home situation using my get home bug out bag, and I was in a snowstorm. Everything was wet and covered with snow, and all I wanted to do was get home. So having something like this, when I need to stop and take a break, when I need to hydrate, have a snack, check my directions, whatever, having something like this that I can just unbuckle from my pack, sit on, be insulated, have my body heat reflect back on me, is a lifesaver. And in my opinion, it is the #1 overlooked piece of gear. Highly recommended, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.